Hey everyone, we're talking with Brent Miller of the Horizon Project about some very unpleasant possibilities in our future. Brent, I got to tell you, I'm enjoying the conversation a lot more than I thought I was going to because, we've had these kind of apocalyptic visions mentioned all through human history. The world's going to end tomorrow, that kind of stuff, and we're still here. So I was kind of rooting for the idea that you wouldn't come off as being very credible and that I could dismiss this in my head, and I haven't got to that point. I'm not saying I buy the whole thing, but it's been pretty interesting, the conversation so far. I'd be curious whether you, as a scientist, as a technology guy, whether you review these other predictions of doom and gloom, and also whether you keep up with other prediction models. We've had these guys from the WebBots on, for example. We've had the guy named Matt Stein, who was on, the author of a book called When Technology Fails. I had him last month. Also with dire predictions. Do you follow that kind of stuff? Have you looked at the other predictions that were made and did not come true?
I don't follow these predictions that other people make. There are quite a number of researchers that compile the information, and unless we have a high correlation of matching of their models with models our technicians and engineers make, we discount it and we just move on because there's just so much information to go through. We're really trying to get, if there's not that many years left, we're really trying to get down to the nitty-gritty, what we can hang our hat on, what we can't. For example, let me give you another thing, a minor cursor event. If we are approaching a galactic plane, and if there's a gravitational field out there that we're approaching, you know that our sun itself, maybe you don't. Our sun ourselves gives out the solar winds. And they just don't go infinitely into space. They actually stop just a little bit beyond the orbit of Pluto. And it creates what scientists refer to as the heliosphere of our solar system. And just like the magnetic field of Earth that protects Earth from the solar radiation, the solar wind of the sun, the solar wind of the sun creates a heliosphere and protects our solar system from intergalactic radiation as our solar system moves through intergalactic space. If our solar system is approaching a gravitational wave, of course, that gravitational wave will push against this heliosphere. And you would expect that it would decrease in size. And in fact, since 1998, the same time the Chandler Wobble stopped, the heliosphere has dropped in size 25%. That is massive. It is now approaching to be inside the orbit of the orbit of Pluto. NASA doesn't know what to make of it. And in fact, they just sent up at the end of last year an IBEX satellite to investigate the phenomenon. They felt it was that critical and that important. In October 2008, they sent up a satellite to measure the heliosphere by doing some analysis of the shock waves as our solar system pushes into this intergalactic radiation. The fear is that this intergalactic radiation is far greater than the radiation that comes from the sun, and whatever is causing it to shrink, if it shrinks far enough into the area of the inner planets, the intergalactic radiation will bombard the Earth, decimating all life on it. So they want to know what's causing this sudden and massive decrease.
Wow.
So
that doesn't sound good.
That's another telltale sign that we are approaching something very quickly. 25% in 10 years is quite significant, I would think.
Our producer, Gina, is lining up some phone calls, but I still have some other questions as we're getting that finalized. We talked earlier about the seed bank that Norwegians are building, and I know that there have been discussions of that, at least, over the years prior to this project. I also know that there's a heck of a lot of stuff underground facilities built for doomsday scenarios, atomic warfare, things of that sort. What do you know about those? I mean, do you suspect that there are facilities specifically designed to protect the elite, government officials, things of that sort, from just what you're describing?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. That you're entering in a realm of speculation for us, and we try not to speculate. In fact, we tend to throw things out like that. We don't look at political motivations. I mean, if we were running a government and we knew that, we would definitely build such structures. I mean, it is just common sense. But we don't try to anticipate what any of the countries are doing. I think what's more important is to prepare people for this, what we feel is inevitable.
Okay, we're going to go to the phones. Dell in Chicago. Good morning, Dell. How you doing? Are you there?
Hello?
Hi. Are you there, or do you have a question for our guest?
Yeah, are you talking to me now?
Yes,
Yeah,
I am talking to you.
Okay, I have a couple of statements and then possibly a question. First of all, there is a theory. It was proposed by Nikola Tesla, by Worrell Keely, by Wilhelm Reich, that the Earth is not spinning of itself, but is in part of what they call a major vortex. A whirling, the best way to explain that would be like we are of a small balloon caught in a drain that is whirling around. And that source of energy is one of the reasons why they used this source of energy more than using hydrocarbons and fossil fuel, because energy is all around the planet. All you have to do is put up an antenna, and it will be drawn down. This is what lightning comes from, and so on like that. Secondly, Dr. Brooks Agnew was inspired, and I'm glad that you as a moderator brought that up, by the reports that Admiral Byrd had when he took two flights, one 2,400 miles into the Antarctic, the other 1,800 miles into the Arctic, in which he said he saw carbonaceous things. He said he saw wild trees, again, which were tropical, that there was sandstorms in there, and that gets into a whole theory of things. This is one of the reasons he wanted. What's very interesting to me, if the scientists of Earth know this, why wouldn't they give him an atomic cutter? Why is it, again, that the United States government would prevent him from doing that, talking about some kind of treaties and stuff and the scientific things that are had? The Germans went there under Hitler. This was one of the things that was talked about. The Swiss have known about this. And I'm simply saying, also, the same theory goes, and I could talk forever, Weed. I know you don't have the time for that one. But there's a theory we're in a photon belt. And that photon belt itself would protect us if the magnetic energy that is coming now from a bipolar sun, which we now have two, would stop being affected by all these towers that they're putting up, which is emitting electrical energy. We could talk forever,
Del,
I'd like to address some of that.
Yeah, we're covering quite a bit of ground there. Let's let our guest take a shot at it. Brent?
Okay, I'm not familiar with a number of things you're referring to. I think you first start out indicating that the Earth seems to be locked in a mechanism. What I would refer to as a mechanism. In fact, some of the quantum physicists relate our solar system and the spacing of the planets to be simply that. A short wave meaning a wavelength of maybe 45 million miles, emanates from the sun, and the planets are actually lined up in troughs as if they were electrons spinning around a nucleus. So that is a theory that does seem to have a practical model to it, which it doesn't replace the gravitational theory of planets spinning around the sun, but it certainly holds its own. So we don't look at that. We haven't looked at that, but I am aware of that model. In terms of Admiral Byrd, I know he was highly respected. His peers at that time indicated that he was honest as the day is old, and if he said it, it must be true. However, I do believe that is probably the number one reason that inspired Dr. Agnew to pursue his course, and some of the reasons he is going up there to look for an inner Earth type theory.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting information on that. I'm no expert or something, but I know there's quite a bit out there. We need to take a short break. Del, thanks for that call. We'll be right back with more of your questions for Brent Miller on Coast to Coast AM. Welcome back, everyone. Our guest is Brent Miller, the founder of the Horizon Project. I'm told that we're having a couple of problems with the phone lines, but we're fixing those right now, so we'll be taking your calls in just a minute. I had a question for you, Brent. You're putting out this information, and it is important information. If this turns out to be true, people need to know about it. Do you worry that you might inspire panic?
It's not my intent. I do know that some people may be panic, but then there's going to be a lot of people, instead of panicking, they may just choose not to know. And that's okay. If I was a different person, I might choose not to know myself, or not to believe and just brush it off. But those who actually look into the information that I'm presenting, look for themselves and dig deep and dig hard, they'll see that there is an overwhelming supply of evidence that suggests that this could happen. But since there is no more precursory events in what's been given, that we can find. And in fact, the precursor events are absolutely significant as can be. And they've all